No love for Scoot Henderson.
No,
he's been
He's
bad.
been absolutely horrible.
He's got that.
I think he's gonna be great, but yeah, he's been genuinely terrible this year.
Yeah. He might stand a chance by the end of the year if he like makes the Blazers a 35-win team or some crap like that. But right now, it's
If he makes the Blazers a 35-win team, give him MVP.
Yeah, honestly,
That's impressive.
they're pretty fucking bad.
So moving on, we're going to sixth man of the year. We have sussed out
Wait.
five
Wait.
contenders.
I had a talking point on Rookie of the Year that I forgot about, but I remembered it.
No, please.
Do we think we're gonna get that fucking, especially because it's Wemby we're talking about, a lot of hype here. Do we think we're gonna get like that Donovan Mitchell, Ben Simmons thing where it's like, oh, you're not actually a real rookie, you got a season training with the team while you were hurt, you know? Do we think we're gonna deal with that?
Probably, but also I think it's possible that like the precedent has been set enough at this point that people won't try to do that. Like that's me being a foolish optimist about this, but like we've done this dance for like multiple times now. Do we have to do it every time it comes up? Like, come on.
I mean, there are plenty of people who are happy to make the same talking points year after year after year after year.
Yeah. All it takes is Bill Simmons bringing it up on one podcast, and it's going to be all over Twitter for at least a week. But for sixth man of the year, we got Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Monk, Duncan Robinson, Karis LeVert, and Cason Wallace. Fellas.
Okay, so out of this group, and I gotta say this about sixth man of the year, which I say all the time, is that there is a difference between what sixth man of the year is historically and what I think the award should be. I think the award should be who is the best player off of the bench. What the award is who scores the most points off of the bench. And unfortunately, far too many people think who is the best player equals who scores the most points. So if we're talking about points per game off of the bench, I believe right now it'd be Tim Hardaway. Malik
Karis
Monk.
LeVert averages 19.
Oh, damn.
You can see they're highlighted in green. Not showing the stream.
I didn't realize it was quite that good.
19 off the bench is kind of quintessential sixth man of the year type of output, but it is also Karis LeVert in Cleveland.
It is also not very efficient, and the Cavs have been not good to open the year, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
We did forget somebody.
Did we?
Yeah, Naz Reid.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's always
so pretend. The chat doesn't know. We're looking at a graphic that Rudy put together, but I think Naz Reid. I think actually, I think he'd probably be my pick
off the bench. But will he score the most points per game off the bench?
I mean, he's been.
I think he's averaging like 14.5, something like that.
He would be our sixth man of the year, but if we had to extrapolate the stats to a full season, would he be sixth man of the year?
Even if Karis LeVert averaged 19 for the whole season, I still think Naz Reid would probably win, just because like he's better. He's a better player. Like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I honestly think Naz Reid might be the answer here.
I think it's Naz Reid. I was gonna make Jacob make the case for Cason Wallace, so I didn't have to.
Let me do it still, because
yeah.
The point I was arriving at is like, I fucking hate that the sixth man of the year is a points per game off the bench competition, and Cason Wallace has been so good for OKC. I've said this a couple of times now that like, I mean, maybe Giddey feels a little bit more questionable to me now than he was earlier on in the season, but from what I had been seeing from Cason, I was like, this is the fifth guy for OKC. Like, projecting what their lineup looks like 5 years from now, I think Cason Wallace is the guard next to SGA, because even though he's a little bit short, his defense is excellent, and this dude does not miss corner threes. He does not miss them. I think last I checked, he was shooting like 80-something% on corner catch and shoots, which is fucking crazy.
He also has not missed a free throw this year. He has made every single one. I think
5% from three.
Yeah, granted, I don't think he's taken very many, but
yeah. And I've even seen like a good amount of like attacking off of the catch stuff, a couple of pull-up jumpers. I think he's just like such a great role player. Like, I feel like an Alex Caruso type of player deserves to win this fucking award for once. But yeah, it's probably Naz Reid.
Which is fair. I think he fits the criteria, and he's been good enough to win it.
Especially if the Wolves like team success sustains. I mean, right now they're on top of the NBA, number one defense. Naz Reid's a huge part.
I really hope so, because I love Naz Reid. Naz Reid is one of my of my favorite players, I think.
If I'm the Grizzlies, I'm calling Minnesota. I'm making an offer for Cat, and then when they say no, I say, okay, what if we give you that for Naz Reid? See if we can pull a fast one on him.
I think the Timberwolves 1,000% say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, Naz Reid's better, I guess.
So it's not to me. It's a value thing. Like Naz Reid's contract is ridiculously valuable.
Yeah.
Like he's literally making like $14 million in a season where Dylan Brooks, like Fred VanVleet, all the laundry list of players who are making $20+ million. Now, granted, Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks have been good this year. Don't lose your minds on me. I think the fact that he is on that contract makes him a more difficult player to trade.
I was really hoping and really expecting that some team would sign him to be a starter on their team. He'd get like 20 something, and it wouldn't be enough for Minnesota to justify being their technically third center. But that didn't happen.
Well, actually, he did get offered more money, and he chose to stay in Minnesota.
Well, that's just dumb.
I mean, maybe they didn't come back for out Minnesota.
I was listening. I was listening to. There was an NBA player on a podcast, but he was basically like, normally, yes, players take the most money, but also he talked about like fans really don't think about all of the hassle that comes with going to play for a new team. Like you're also uprooting your kid. Like if you have a family, it's a lot. I don't know if Naz Reid has a family, and if this was a factor in his decision, but like some players don't end up just taking the most. Like players usually get a lot more offers than we hear about, and normally if a player says no and it was for more money, it has to do with a factor of like their family, their kids, stuff like that.
My thing would be he's his own man. He can make his own decisions, but I would look at it as not only am I getting more money to go here, I'm also getting more opportunity, which begets more money in the future when I showcase just how fucking good I am. Because I think Naz Reid could average 20 points per game pretty easily and be a very good starting center.
I want to mention a couple of oversights for most improved, although I don't think that they're really contenders because for me it's just between the two Tyreses. But Dylan Brooks is one that's probably worthy of mention, probably worth it.
Sure. I mean, he's got the same volume. He's just efficient now, which is a big improvement, but not as big as either of the Tyreses, I would say.
And then we also got a what's his name? I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
I saw some Reggie Jacksons in the chat.
Yeah, a lot of Reggie Jackson in the chat.
That's not
just numb to the Nuggets being as good as they are, but like he didn't even hit my radar.
No, he's been like an NBA player, which it didn't look like he was anymore.
I noticed one thing I have noticed is his defense has been really good, but offensively, I normally kind of just tune out when Reggie Jackson's, bring the ball up the floor.
He's been pretty fucking good and like an actual NBA player, and like not just like regular season. Like I think he might be a playoff rotation guy again, which I was like, I didn't think that was fucking happening. I thought he was pretty much just gonna ride a couple of teams' benches until no one signed him in a couple of years.
It's the glasses.
Is it a contract year?
Possibly.
I know he just got re-signed though.
Yeah, it was probably a 1 year deal though.
Well, good for him. I'm glad he's playing well.
Then Cam Thomas as well, probably.
I don't know if this difference matters all that much, but we're talking about most improved. Oftentimes it ends up being most opportunity. And at least for me, when I'm, differentiating between those two, like I'm going to pick a guy who I think actually got better at things, where I think Cam Thomas is just finally getting the minutes that he's good enough to be getting. Historically, he's been a fucking bucket when he gets those minutes. Nothing's changed. He's just getting those minutes more regularly. He's been a little bit better defensively, but the bar was in hell. So I don't think he's improved that much. I think he's just getting starting minutes.
Yeah. Also, with we're talking about most improved still, right? Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I feel like Cam Thomas has improved a lot, but also he is still in the process of improving. And I mean this in a good way, in that Cam Thomas has a lot more to go before he reaches his potential, but he's far from a finished product in my eyes. So I just kind of feel like saying he's most improved kind of puts that's a lid on that, and that's wraps, where I'm like, well, no, Cam Thomas is probably going to get a lot better than what he's doing right now, because efficiency wise, inside the arc he's been really good, but also his 3-point shooting is still pretty rough as far as being a complementary player off ball. He's got some room to grow there. I think he's given more effort on defense this year, but you still got to grow in that area. Granted, it's hard to be a good defender on a losing team. So I don't know. I just feel like if he's going to win most improved player, his time will come. I don't know if this is the kind of year.
The Nets have been competitive, at least. I think they're definitely in the red in terms of their record, but they've been like not just a wash for sure.
Yeah, but my point is more so that like they're not like trying to. They're not contending. They're not trying to contend.
Man, could you imagine the Nets winning a championship this year, like in real life?
It's time to retire.
Adam Silver would quit.
Yeah.
He quit.
Yeah, it's time to retire because I don't know shit.
Completely blindsided by a new era of surprise champions in the NBA.
All right, what we got next? Is it just MVP? They're DPOY.
DPOY, then MVP. I didn't put any notes for these.
Gotcha.
For me, they seem like
I think DPOY is between two people right now: Rudy Gobert and Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going Rudy Gobert all in, not just because of my Rudy-based bias, but also because it's the number one defense. He's done for him. He's a Hall of Fame player. You know,
I understand that the Timberwolves are the number one defense, and obviously Rudy is a very big part of that. I don't know what Miami's defensive rating is. I would wager it's pretty fucking good, but I have seen so many individual stats for what Bam has done this year, and it's fucking ridiculous. Like, I'm pretty sure he's like was giving up like 0.4 points per game in isolation. Like, you just cannot isolate against Bam Adebayo. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. You cannot score on him one-on-one. End of discussion. He's been so good. Like, he's been good on offense as well, more than he's ever been.
I wonder how much that really affects Defensive Player of the Year voting. Now, probably zero, but like I imagine it's slightly more than zero.
Well,
like,
the way that I would put it is that just like points per game gets your name in people's mouths.
Right. Ben Wallace could never win Defensive Player of the Year.
Right.
known scorer Draymond Green.
You get what I mean, though. Like, points per game is a way to get people to pay attention to you, and then you can talk about your fucking defense.
Yes, stakes and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Smart won a DPOY. I really don't think points per game really matter. I don't think I think that I'm not with you guys on that one. I'm not
saying it's really that important. I'm just saying it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it could maybe get people to pay more attention to you, but like, I
don't honestly hurt your case.
Well, what do you think? Who's DPOY?
I mean, regardless,
do we want to give Rudy Gobert his fourth?
Well,
do we want him to tie Ben Wallace?
That's what I was going to say. Is regardless of who you think should win Defensive Player of the Year between Gobert, Bam. I have seen AD mentioned, although I'm pretty sure he's hurt right now, so like it's kind of factored into my thought process here. But regardless of who you think should win between Bam and Gobert, if we're using those two as the argument, I don't think voters would give Gobert another MVP. I just don't see that happening. I feel like DPOY. I feel like Bam has been like waiting in line long enough that it's just not going to happen that Gobert is going to get it.
I mean, people have been calling Bam a generational defender. Maybe you're just people, but
No, I've been saying, like, I said maybe a little bit too prematurely that he was the best defender in the NBA like 2 years ago, but he might be now.
That seems reasonable.
Alex will be back, folks.
Get a laptop.
Yes. I wish I had some sort of one of those advanced stats about Bam pulled up, but like literally I just saw a list of players isolating against Bam, and it was like 1 for 8, 1 for 10, 0 for 4, 0 for 7, like just a fucking banana stats. What is Miami's defensive rating? Can you pull that up real fast since we Jamie, pull that up. That's funny. Stay with us, people. We're almost there.
So this season, the Miami Heat's defensive rating is 15. No, 11. It's 11. That's their net rating.
Yeah. So I mean, being first in defensive rating is definitely nice. I will say, he does not have a defensive teammate, at least in terms of regular season effort, as good as Jaden McDaniels is. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Butler, when he's fully locked in on defense, maybe you could argue is on that level, but he's not really trying that hard in the regular season historically on both ends of the floor. So yeah, I do think you could argue Rudy benefits from that a little bit more. And Bam's the more versatile defender for what that's worth. Although when we discussed DPOY last year with Jaren Jaren versus Brook, I was pretty against that argument, so I'm not going to use it now.
Right, you got to be consistent.
Yes,
That's how life works.
Yes.
You create one ideology for yourself, and you never change.
Exactly. Ultimately, I think the most important, just who makes defense good for your team the most, regardless of that context.
That was such like a cave. This is such a caveman way to say it. Who make defense good?
Yes. Rudy or Bam. It's Rudy or Bam for me. I don't think it could be anybody else. Anthony Davis probably not played as many games as either of them have.
Hey, Marcus Smart.
Fuck, Marcus Smart.
Let's start the campaign again.
I'm good. Okay, might be literally the worst defensive player of the year in the last 25 years.
I'm going to shut this down before we
can't have Boston after us. Next up is MVP. To me, I think there's one answer which is not sexy at all, but is probably the right answer. But
oh boy.
What are you suggesting?
I think Jokic is by far the best player this year. Again,
I thought you were going to say Embiid.
I thought you were going to say Embiid too.
Honestly, dude, Embiid has been so fucking good this year.
You told me on the last podcast, I think we asked what's more likely or is it at all likely for Embiid to repeat? And we're like,
that's the reason why I thought you were like, hyping up this controversial idea, because we were like, there's no way he's actually going to do it.
I said it wasn't sexy.
Right. But I think that's not sexy. I think people are like, fuck no, we're not giving Joel Embiid another MVP until he gets out of the second round, or at least doesn't lose so embarrassingly. And I do think people will still apply that mindset when that race is a little bit tighter. But if I was going to say anybody technically has played like the MVP so far, it's probably been him. But I think Luka Doncic has a case. Nikola Jokic has a case. There's probably someone that I'm blanking on right now. Alex, take it away.
I'm trying to think, and Jason Tatum has a case. I've seen some people mention Shea. He was a finalist last year. I'm an OKC fan, but I probably wouldn't have Shea number one.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like he's been a tad worse than he was last year so far. Like just a tad. Only a tad. I promise. I only mean a tad.
I think 3-point shooting is kind of the only thing that's kind of been shaky for him this year, but it's kind of still just the Jokic and Embiid race right now.
A love for Luka Doncic, second in the NBA in scoring. The Mavericks are an 8-win team.
Luka is the guy who kind of shakes it all up. But
I personally feel, and we're making a video on this eventually, but I think this is the year that Luka wins MVP. I think all the stars are aligning for this to be the time. I don't think Jokic is going to win it again, and I sure as shit don't think Embiid is going to win it again. And the Mavericks are very good. I think they're going to continue to be very good. I think they're going to finish as a top 3 seed, and Luka's going to average basically a 30-point triple-double doing that. And for how long people have hyped up the possibility of that award, I think if his case is very strong, they're going to be like, okay, we're going to do it now. Like, this is the time.
Yeah, get the Luka train going, I guess. If it wasn't any of those 3, it's got to be Anthony Edwards, right? Especially.
Yeah, I think I texted Alex the other day, Anthony Edwards MVP ? He's definitely top 5 right now.
I agree. It's just like, he's one of those guys who you're going to be able to look at game by game and be like, the consistency right now is just kind of all over the place. He's insanely good. I think he's going to be an all NBA caliber player. I think this year he'll probably have a good case for all NBA, but like the consistency is still developing. Whereas guys like Luka, Embiid, Jokic, Tatum, those guys, the consistency is there, so that kind of plays in their favor. Ant's gonna have a night where he drops like 37 points on ridiculous efficiency, and then he's gonna have nights where he drops 29 points on garbage efficiency. It's like, well, he's still gonna average 30, but it's still just all over. It's that kind of thing. I think
people tend to look at the whole average, especially. People tend to look at the whole.
Well, my point is like.
Sorry.
Halliburton is a legit MVP candidate if this keeps up. Basically putting up 25 and 12.
Yeah, the Pacers are pretty good too. That's a fair point. I think that's definitely worth. That'd probably be our top 5, I guess.
Yeah, we've listed like 7 players.
Right, but like.
No, but realistically, it would be like Jokic and Embiid 1-1A for me. Then Luka and Ant, and then.
And then Tyrese probably my 5th.
Tyrese Halliburton's 5th. Yeah, it's a pretty good ballot if you ask me.